Well, hello everyone, and welcome to this very special webinar. I'm Anna Smith. I'm the host of the Girls on Film podcast, and I'm really pleased to be hosting today. Thank you to everyone who's joining us from far and wide. We should run to around an hour today. Some of you may be familiar with Park Circus, others perhaps less so, but I hope that today will give you even more of a sense of what they do and how easy it is to book classic films for your cinema and why it's such a good idea.
We should run to that.
I'm also looking forward to being inspired with some stories by those who are already doing it. We'll be joined by a fantastic panel in the second half today. We'll be joined by Charlene Leiden from Lighthouse Dublin and Jan de Vries from Kino Rotterdam, along with Jack Bell, who's the Director of Theatrical Sales at Park Circus. The last few minutes we'll be having a Q&A. Feel free to ask questions all the way through in the Q&A panel, and we'll respond in the last 10 minutes or so today. We're actually streaming live on YouTube today, so welcome to those joining us there, and we'll be sharing a recording afterwards. Shortly, I'll be joined by Mark Hirzberger-Taylor, CEO of Park Circus, to give us a brief intro. First, we're going to watch a video which might make you a little bit emotional if you haven't been to a full cinema recently, because Park Circus have been supporting cinemas who've been striving to safely reopen for their Love of Cinema campaign over the last few months. And they've marked the occasion with this very special video. Enjoy. Oh, lovely stuff. Welcome to Mark. Do join us.
Hi, Anna.
Hi.
Everybody.
Hi.
Thank you very much for that video. It really does remind us all of how wonderful it is to be in the cinema. You know, that was very much what we wanted to do. But it's yeah, I kind of feel a bit of a lump in my throat, so excuse me. But
I
yeah.
know it feels sort of weirdly nostalgic watching that, isn't it? It's absolutely gorgeous.
Granted, you know, we took it for granted, and now I think we just have to. But you know, as you said before, I mean, it was very important for us to kind of keep that spirit alive. So, hello for everybody. Good afternoon, and a big warm hello, welcome from Park Circus. Very happy that you taking time in this busy pre-Christmas time to think a little bit about a subject which is very close to our hearts. So yeah, we look forward to a little bit of a chat later, and obviously any questions you may have.
Well, obviously we're all here because we love cinema. Mark, tell us a little bit more about Park Circus and your role in the world of film distribution.
Yeah, I'm very happy to. I mean, Park Circus was founded in 2003, and the objective was very much to kind of make it, easier access to exhibitors to book and cinemas and audiences to watch classic film. And it started very humbly with not humbly, but with a great film, but on a kitchen table, planning to watch Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. 17 years later, we're very proud to be one of the world's leading distributors and sales agents. We work with all Hollywood and British studios, as well as some very specialized libraries. And in an average year, we license over 20,000 theatrical screenings around the world in over 110 countries as well. We have a vast library, which is over 25,000 titles, ranging right back to some silent films. Of those, about 2,000 are in digital format. We have a wide library also of 35 millimeter, 70 millimeter. What people may not necessarily know about Park Circus is we also have, for some studios, we also have the rights for video and home entertainment and TV distribution. And we've also been very proud to accompany certain new releases along the festival circuit, and also in first run distribution. So it's a very wide range of services, actually.
Could you tell us a little bit more about those? I mean, obviously, as you say, you're in many other territories worldwide, other than the UK.
Yeah, I mean, our base is in Glasgow. I mean, for some of you may know that Park Circus actually is a very nice part of the West End of Glasgow. But we are very much an international company. We have offices in London, Paris, Los Angeles. Recently, we've actually got a representative in Australia. So yeah, so we have a very, we are a very strong player in the international marketplace. We have a wide range of clients. Some people booking for the first time. Some really long-standing partners who've been very pleased to work with over the years. You'll be hearing from a few of them. A few of them later today. And I think the most important thing, our mission statement is to ensure that every film finds its audience, wherever that may be. And I think that's even more important nowadays. Cinema, there's a lot of issues facing cinema. We believe passionately, that you saw that trailer we had over the summertime. We're keen to do everything we possibly can. And I think it's important, one of the few opportunities that has come up is that perhaps classic cinema is getting more of a place where it belongs, and we're hoping that it will, rather than just be a space filler, we're hoping that it will actually sort of have a very deep-rooted place in across the exhibition landscape, which it really deserves.
Absolutely. Is there anything else you wanted to add about Park Circus before we watch our next video?
No, I just think it's important. I mean, you'll hear from Jack. I think it's very important just to feel free to reach out to us. I mean, we have, as I say, we have first time buyers. We have people working who we establish relationships. You can come to us if you already have an idea. Our webpage should help you find that. We try and curate those 25,000 titles on a sort of scrolling basis. But again, if you have no idea, but you just feel there's an audience, which we believe is this very strong audience, do reach out to us in whatever way. And then we can kind of accompany you from choosing the screening format. We can help with versioning. We have a very wide bank of marketing assets, some new assets, as you saw that trailer, for example. So we're really here to help and just reach out to any one of us. And another most important thing is, keep positive. I mean, we're coming to the end of the year. It really has been a horrendous year, and sadly, our colleagues in exhibition have been really hit more than anybody, I think. And I just think the clear message going into this sort of season of hope and goodwill and positive thoughts is that 2021, we're nearly there. We're kind of crawling. We're crawling there. But I do very much believe, that cinema has a very strong future, which we all will support. And I think when we bounce back, we really will bounce back. And I hope that there's a very strong forum for and space for classic cinema as well. So yeah, so keep in there. That's the most important message, I think, for today.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm thinking of everyone watching now because everyone's been affected, of course. But as you say, we're learning to recognize how important cinema is in our lives. And so I think hopefully when people are more able to, then everyone's going to be rushing back to the cinema with great excitement.
Exactly. Okay.
Well, Mark, thank you for that introduction to Park Circus. And now we're going to watch another short video just to give a tiny flavour of the range of films that Park Circus represent. And before we speak to some cinemas who are already making a big success of their repertory screenings. If you recognise any of the films, feel free to post it in the chat. Bear with us. Julie's about to burst into song, hopefully.
All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
Closer. You talking to me?
You know what's happened, don't you? I've fallen in love with you.
Here, go!
It's going to be fun.
I'll be back.
Oh!
You ought to be locked up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Wow, some classics in there. So we've heard a little bit about what Park Circus do. And now we'd like to speak to some cinemas who are already screening rep films to incredible impact. So I'd now like to welcome Jack Bell, the Director of Theatrical Sales at Park Circus, who'll be chatting to Jan de Vries of Kino Rotterdam and Charlene Leiden at Lighthouse Dublin about their experiences. Over to you, Jack.
Thanks so much, Anna, and thank you, Mark, as well, and for the clips that we were sharing there. Got there in the end, but yeah, it's an absolute pleasure to be here. I know we've got a number of people from all around the world, in fact, so that's really exciting and great to see. But yeah, two fantastic guests as well to join me as well, and Charlene and Jan. I guess just quickly to introduce myself as well. So. I work as Director of Theatrical Sales at Park Circus. So I've been with the company over 9 years now. Back in the days when we did live, we did have our office in that part of Glasgow called Park Circus. Currently in Glasgow just now, very wet and rainy Glasgow. But yeah, my job is basically heading up the sales operation at the company and working with cinemas and film festivals from all around the world of varying sizes. And yeah, hopefully Jan and Charlene can join us just now. And I don't know if you guys can turn on your cameras and microphones. Great, hi guys.
Hello there.
Hi, welcome.
Amazing backgrounds. Certainly, Charlene, I think you get the most points for sure. But yeah,
sorry, Jan. That's all right. It's all yours. It's fine.
It would be great, yeah, just for you guys to introduce yourselves as well to everyone. Jan, I know you have a short video as well, just of a program that you put together and a trailer that you did for that. So do you want to maybe kick off just to introduce yourself and Kino as well, of course, and your venue, and then whenever you're ready for that clip to be shown, just give the go ahead and my colleague will do that.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Jack. And hello, Charlene and Anna. Thank you so much for the opportunity to say something. My name is Jan de Vries. I am the founder of Kino Rotterdam, which is a 4-screen cinema in Rotterdam, in the Netherlands. And because I'm the founder, I can also give myself a title, which is great. So I'm artistic director and programmer. And yeah, we have 4 screens. We actually have the ability to show DCPs, but also 35 millimeter and recently 70 millimeter, which is well, it's financially a very stupid decision to implement that, but it is great because it looks great. And I have to say, I do this together with Frank Groot. He is my sort of a partner in crime, you could say. I credit him right now because I know he's watching, so I have to. We above that, actually, we have a whole building of sort of office spaces with audiovisual little companies. So they're actually, we try to have a place where films are made and sort of films are enjoyed. So together with the bar and the restaurant, that's sort of a very short what Kino is about. And programming, we do new films, but also concert movies and a lot of classics. So I actually know Jack Bell a lot. I think we converse more than I do with most family members. So it's weird, but very true. So yeah, and is it maybe okay to show the clip? Then I can elaborate a little bit on what we do when it comes to the relationship with Park Circus.
Thanks, Jan. Yeah, Kate, whenever you're ready, it'd be great to show that clip from Kino.
The lifers against the new boys, the old against the young, the black against the white, everybody to keep us in our place. You're trying to hurt somebody instead of helping yourself. That's your problem.
This is America. Don't catch you slipping now. Don't catch you slipping now.
Everybody wants to be a gangster. Probably want to buy one, right?
How you know I don't got one? There's a bunch of stuff that you're gonna have to get over being scared of.
Do it to him before he does it to you.
People rarely say the real reasons for things. Big corporations never do.
Hey!
It's a wonder more cameras haven't been smashed. I want to know why nobody told me what the hell's been going on, because you can bet your ass out there in the street, they know.
Yeah, I'ma go into this. This is America.
You wanna know who works? The ones I picked to work.
This is America.
You always got to wait till somebody get killed, man, because somebody is gonna get killed.
This is America.
Fuck them to Sam, man. They give the fucking politicians a break.
This is America.
Look at them, they're everywhere.
This is America.
It's either him or you. His finger is on the trigger.
This is America.
And there ain't nothing I can do.
Ain't nothing left to do.
100 bands, 100 bands, 100 bands. Contraband, contraband, contraband. I got the plug on who a hawker. Whoa, they gonna find you like baka, blah.
Right. I realize now it's a bit sweary, so some swear words. Sorry about that. Yeah, so what we're trying to do here, so these are 6 films. There's actually 4 coming from Park Circus. What we are always trying to do is have a couple of big films, so people know On the Waterfront, for instance. It's a sort of a bona fide classic, and we try to sneak in under a theme. We try to sneak in some maybe lesser known titles like Blue Collar, which is the Paul Schrader film. And yeah, so we have this sort of overlapping theme, and then try to sort of put stuff in. And, you know, we all watch the news, so we sort of know that America is, it's a bit stressful. So we thought we might sort of focus a little bit on like a blue collar, so like the sort of the everyday people, and make a program like this. And yeah, it seems to work, because it's not just that people go to the big ones, but then they give the other films a chance as well. And I think that sort of evens it out like that. It's always a bit of a gamble, because you have to think for other people in a way. But yeah, this turned out really well, even with the constricted numbers that we did during the pandemic. So yeah, something like that.
That's great, yeah, and thank you so much. And yeah, it's a fantastic trailer as well. And I think that's a really great example that we can maybe refer back to when we take the discussion a bit further. So yeah, thanks for that again. Charlene, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself and the Lighthouse Cinema in Dublin, and of course there's also the Palace Cinema in Galway as well, which is under your remit too. So yeah, take it away.
I wish I had a really cool trailer like that one. That looked amazing. Well done. Yeah, so I am the head of programming for the Lighthouse Cinema in Dublin and also Palace in Galway. Lighthouse is currently open, Palace is currently closed. We were allowed to open a couple of weeks ago, but we're not sure for how long. So we decided to open Lighthouse. But we're going to wait for a little bit more stability, hopefully in January, for Palace. So it's been quite a mad struggle, obviously, like everybody. So Lighthouse and Palace are owned by Element Pictures, who you may have heard of. They're a film production and distribution company. They made films like The Favourite, The Lobster, Disobedience, Room, Lenny Abrahamson's TV series Normal People earlier this year. So they kind of do everything, I suppose. And I also program Volta.ie, which is a Irish video on demand website. So a little bit of everything there. So Lighthouse is 4 screens and Palace is 3 screens, similar to yourself, Jan. And similarly as well, like we show a lot of new films. We dabble, I would say, in blockbusters, but we mainly focus on sort of slightly more niche independent films, a lot of Irish films. And we do a lot of retrospective cinema. So whether that's in seasons or just we take a notion that it's been too long since somebody saw the thing on the big screen, so we'll just do that. And we have a couple of monthly film clubs, Hollywood Babylon and Grindhouse, that kind of look after the really trash side of things for us. And we have a cinema book club, which every month we do an adaptation of a book and film. And yeah, so that's basically what we do in a nutshell, or what we have been doing up till now. But right now it's just all throwing everything at it that we can.
Even Wonder Woman.
Well, we're taking Wonder Woman a little bit late, but we
right.
we will put it on eventually.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a great film, but you know, you said like with the blockbusters, it might be.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like we're always trying to find a balance and prioritize. Like if we can do the Wonder Woman, if we can fit the other films, you know, that's that's kind of the. I won't knock out something else so that I can play blockbuster. I don't think it makes sense for us, and I don't think it's what our audience wants or expects.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm curious, Charlene, how much audience feedback do you get, and how much do you program with that in mind?
We have very, very active social media and very engaged, actually. So our audience has lots of fun with us, and we have lots of fun with our audience. So I guess, like, if somebody makes a suggestion, we generally go off and try to make it happen where we can. But actually, at the moment, what I was doing just before this is we asked people what films they would like to see or that they missed from earlier this year. That we might bring back for like after Christmas for a few screenings, because we know a lot of people didn't make it to the cinema. Some films didn't get to be shown at all. So we took that feedback on board and created a mini season of films that people asked us for. So yeah, so
nice.
quite a lot. Quite like every suggestion that we get, we kind of discuss and consider and try to make happen, or file it away for down the line.
Jan, how about you?
Well, actually, the amount of content which is available right now is actually still as overwhelming as it always is. Yeah, like, okay, well, we closed yesterday, but we had the David Byrne film, American Utopia, for instance. It just sort of drops out of nowhere. There's a new Spike Lee movie, and I think it's so weird to actually see that even in a weird pandemic like this, there's an abundance of films that we can show. So we're still struggling to cramp everything in our 4 screens, to be honest, and that we're sort of amazed by that. But it doesn't have that sort of. You don't have that Tenet weight of films, and especially you don't have the marketing which comes with a title like that. So what you need to do is work really hard with your own marketing department, or it's actually one person with us. She's doing fantastically, but it needs a lot more care. That's where we really try to focus. As Charlene said, we have a very active social media and also a community that we have been building for 4 years, and we try to be as informal as possible on there. So I mean, I react as much as the people from marketing, or and try to be relatable in a way that people feel free to ask us questions and stuff like that. And now that we had to close for, I think, the 3rd time or something like that, you actually feel the love a little bit as well, as people support you. So that's it's fantastic in a way, but it takes a lot more effort to do many small films as it is to just shoot 3-pointers with Tenet, for instance.
Of course. That's really interesting advice about social media. Charlene, have you got any advice for people, and best sort of tone of voice in a way, and the best way to reach people?
Well, I mean, the way we have always done it is we're quite playful. So, you know, some of our posts are, these are the times you can see films today, and some of our posts are, I don't know, some ridiculous photoshopped whatever. A lot of the people here might be familiar with the Europa Cinemas music that plays before films, if you're a Europa Cinema thing. We've had a lot of fun with little videos of that in the past on social media, because it's like a little earworm that everybody who comes to our cinema is really familiar with. But I think it's little things like that that makes people feel like they're part of the gang, you know, like we're making in jokes there. We're speaking directly to you. We know what you think is funny. We know you're a bit of a nerd, so you'll get this. So we're all a little gang. So I think a lot of how we engage with our audience is very much like, you know, you're in the gang, you'll get this little random joke. and I think that really does help to build like a friendly community.
Yeah, community is the right word, isn't it? You know, there's nothing like going to a cinema and feeling that sense of unity between the staff and the customers, and everyone's sort of on the same page. It's lovely.
Yeah.
Jack, I've got a question for you, actually. What have you found in recent years has been particularly popular titles, repertory titles?
I think, I think it's popular if the right marketing is behind it, as Charlene and Jan are speaking to there. I think, you know, booking repertory, there's just so much possibility there. There's so many titles, and as Jan says as well, there's not actually really necessarily a lack of films out there that people can show. It is the marketing campaigns that go behind them, and how creative you are with the program that you can bring together, which I think, you know, both the Lighthouse and Kino do so well. I think from our side, one interesting thing to, I think, put back to Charlene and Jan is, in a sense, you know, the seasonal times of year, which are obviously relevant for not relevant for everywhere in the world, but certainly the likes of Valentine's Day, Halloween and Christmas are really, really popular for repertory and classic titles. And now obviously where cinemas are open, it's really big. Park Circus had Hocus Pocus at #1 at the box office in Halloween in the UK this year, which showed how strong that title is. And that's, you know, that the popularity of that film is shot through the roof in the last couple of years all of a sudden, despite it being readily available on Disney Plus, for example, too. But I think what is interesting is, you know, even looking at the trailer that you showed earlier, Jan, is actually how you can bring, you know, you've got so many options for bringing together quite a creative program, and it doesn't actually need to necessarily take over your program. Certainly, you know, something that I'm always keen to stress to exhibitors is, you know, we're not a distributor that has to command, you know, daily shows and to kind of block out a week. Even if we are proactively re-releasing a classic film, it can just dot through your program, but it can complete it in a really refreshing way that can be really interesting to audiences. Some films will work more than others with that, of course, too, but I think it is the marketing. And I guess maybe firstly with yourself, Charlene, I suppose outside of the kind of seasonal times of year, this kind of so-called obvious times of year when you might look to book a classic, for example, Hocus Pocus at Halloween or Home Alone at Christmas, how else do you look to factor in classics? And I suppose also just thinking about it commercially, because obviously that is important, that'll be important to a lot of people listening in too, is how do you make it work commercially? But yeah, how do you program outside of those more obvious times of year with classic films?
Well, sometimes it's just simply that, you know, the new Wes Anderson film's coming out, so we'll do a Wes Anderson season. But other times, I guess it's just reacting to the zeitgeist. So, I mean, much like the This Is America season, you're kind of paying attention to what people are talking to and are talking about, and sort of, you know, maybe what people might be interested in engaging with. Like, I guess around the last time we had an election in America, a lot of people were talking about fake news, whatever. And we put together a Hacks season, which was a season of films about journalism. And it was all kinds of different films about journalism. So I guess it was just like we were thinking about what people were talking about and trying to just pull something together. And like that, like we had some like kind of stuff like Almost Famous in there as well. That's sort of just a little bit more fun. And then All the President's Men. So I guess it's just kind of listening to what's going on in the world, or reacting to something that's being released, or simply just feeling like, I think it's the time for this, you know, this person to be highlighted, or it feels like the time to randomly show Hellraiser for no reason, you know. And it's kind of instinct, I suppose, in a way. I mean, you're listening to what's going on in the world, you're listening to what people are talking about and how they're reacting to things. And sometimes it's just about reminding people how good it is to see things that are their favorite on the big screen. So, you know, at Christmas time, that's really easy because we know everybody's favorite Christmas films, and Valentine's Day, it's usually pretty easy as well, and Halloween. But I guess other times a year, every now and then, just someone in the office be like, "Is it time to bring back A League of Their Own?" And we go, "Yeah," and we'll just do a screening. And if it's popular, it's popular. And if it's not popular, we just go, "Well, we won't do that again," you know. So, and as you say, like that's a Wednesday evening. It doesn't have to be taking up a whole week of your schedule. So it's a small sacrifice if it doesn't work. But if it does work, you just kind of find out a little bit more about your audience and what they like and what they're interested in.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I think what's quite interesting about both of your theatres as well is that they're quite newish theatres. I think I'm right in saying that they either opened or reopened under new guises within the last 10 years or so, maybe even less for Kino. But you've both made repertory quite a big part of your programs, and you know, obviously there can be a tendency to think that there's not a kind of young audience for repertory films, but actually through things like trailers, through fun marketing initiatives and so on, that can definitely be the case. That there is, there's you know, all demographics can be covered with repertory. I think that's really the beauty of it as well. So
totally agree.
I think one thing that people can sometimes forget as well with the more obvious classics is that every 5 years or so there will be a whole new generation that will not have seen, you know, Martin Scorsese's films, Agnes Varda's films, etc. So it is fine to still show certain films again and again, even if, you know, your 60-year-old man might say, "Oh, why are you showing that again?" or whatever, because there's someone else that won't have seen that before, and certainly not on a big screen before. So I get one kind of interesting question for you both as well would be, and maybe Jan, we'll go back to you with this, is why, you know, and I know you have quite a kind of young crowd that goes to see the classics as well, and you mentioned even before, you know, you've actually installed a 70mm projector this year. You know, why did you really decide to make repertory a significant part of your program when you opened up as a new venue?
Well, just to be honest, I just like old movies. So yeah, it's really simple. We had something to do with, you know, when we sat on the kitchen table together with Frank, and I was like, all right, what were we going to do? And just going to say, like, we're just going to screen films that we love. That's it. That's the whole sort of thing, you know, just what we think is good. And well, what Charlene said, I mean, do you need a reason to show Hellraiser? Not really. I mean, it's great if it's like 35 years old or something like that, so you have a little bit of a hook. But to be honest, it's just, I think if you program from enthusiasm and the way that you sort of convey something like, hey, you need to watch this because I think it's great. It's very different than what I think bigger institutions have with an educational with an educational sort of mission, is that it feels like you have to watch it, you know, and we're going like, hey, you should, I mean, you know, and make it, have it, it's a bit more fluffy or light in a way, and that reflects in what we do. But I mean, we've done a Tarkovsky retrospective, and that was actually sold out as well, and those are the same people that go to The Thing or to Predator, because it's all about having that experience, and it's a communal experience as well. That's very important. So
I think that's definitely the thing, isn't it, Jan? Where I think you know, again, where you guys, I feel particularly strong, and that there's a lot of great, you know, examples out there, of course, but is in showing classics consistently. If you do it well with the right marketing behind it, then you build up an audience, you build up a loyalty and a trust that no matter what you show, you will want to go and see that film. You'll pick up the brochure and you'll see that section, and it becomes that section that the audience is familiar with. But I think it's important to find that right balance of not being bland and being challenging as well. And I think they're being, you know, kind of making sure that you are, you know, aware of showcasing a diverse lineup of titles that Repertory has its challenges with, but it can definitely be used to help with that as well. And I think there's so many ways that you can play with Repertory. You can do it more in the film education side of things, and I think there could be a lot more done in a more joined up way with that. There's also the kind of fun late night events where you can even have, you know, after parties. I know there's the amazing, I've seen amazing kind of pictures of what you've done at Kino, Jan, with the big wall displays of with a DJ playing. And you know, there's, I know, again, Charlene, you've done a lot of great stuff with, you know, even just with merchandise or with you know, stuff in the cafe or bar and things like that. You know, it's a really, it just all helps engage people in a program that doesn't necessarily just need to rely on the kind of big so-called tentpole blockbusters. I guess, Charlene, I suppose for yourself, what be interesting to know, I think even Call Me By Your Name is an interesting example. And I know there was the double bill that you did. It was again with the David Byrne film and Forgetting, but I think it's interesting how quickly a film can be released and then be a classic within, or so-called classic within a couple of years. You know, what's a good example for you of a film that you've played that you've actually played again quite soon afterwards because there was a bigger audience that you may have even thought of originally when you booked it?
I think Call Me By Your Name is a great example. And another great example is Mandy, which actually was released by you guys. It's like a contemporary film that was released by you guys. So there's like Mandy, Call Me By Your Name, Stop Making Sense, which was the one that we did a double bill with Call Me By Your Name, based on like literally Elio wears a t-shirt from Stop Making Sense in Call Me By Your Name, and Mad Max Fury Road. Rarely not on our server, because we're going to stick that on soon. Like every now and then, it just, you know, every few months we're like, oh, I think it's time for a Stop Making Sense or Call Me By Your Name. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting for the newer ones that, you know, they get released, they play and they play and they play and they play, and then eventually you finish them. But then, you know, you find a reason to bring it back. And like people have started to like almost sag us whenever we put a screening of Call Me By Your Name on sale. But it always sells out, and it's really strange. But like, you have to react to that, you know. Mandy is the same. We did a screening of that when we reopened, and it sold out immediately. So it's interesting to keep an eye on these things. It's again listening to your audience and like, do they want to see that again? You know, that's so fascinating. We've just put on sale Phantom Thread on New Year's Eve this year. That's quite a recent one, but we've done that, you know, a couple of years in a row on New Year's Eve now since it came out. And that it's just really interesting to watch that. But the other thing is, I suppose what we need to be conscious of as old people is what young people want. Like, so what's the new cult classic, and how are you aware of them as an older person? You know, like, what does a 20-year-old want to see on the big screen? Like, what was their favorite film? That's what's really interesting, and finding the new cult classics and kind of reacting to maybe stuff that came out in the noughties that people
100%.
I find that really tricky because I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that was a thing, you know. But that's why you listen to people.
We did a 1999 retrospective, so 19 movies from 1999. And,
that was a good year.
That was a good year. That's why we did it. It was a great year. Yeah. But the weird thing was that, and it was like 20 years ago. But the weird thing is like there a lot of people went to the Blair Witch Project, and I was like, well, it was the one that I sort of needed to be in there, I thought, but you know, maybe not a lot of people would go there. A lot of people go to that movie, and we had it recently with we did a female director retrospective with not A League of Their Own, but Big. From Penny Marshall, but actually the film that we planned it for about 3 times, and I think we did 15 or 16 screenings of American Psycho, which is just people just kept coming to that, and I think because it's very memeable, you know, people know it from memes and internet culture, and that's why that sort of that relatability becomes very snappy just through image. But we were surprised actually, and then you have to sort of act quick to sort of get more screenings in. But I think the definition of a classic is weird. I think, you know, if you ask your parents, it's Fellini, which is great. I mean, they're great movies and will probably sell out if you do that as well. But classics now can be something that's 25 years old. And you feel old when something is a classic which you've seen in the cinema. You know, and it's
it's so strange.
It's a fact of life, I guess.
Yeah, but it's our job, Jan. We have to keep our fingers on the pulse of what young people think is a classic. So
yeah, well, there you go. And I mean, that's the thing. Like you said, there's a lot of suggestions as well, and we try to always sort of maybe wiggle it in somewhere. And this is to sound grim, not to sound too grim, but actually a year ago I already asked Jack for some Sean Connery films because you know, I kind of sort of felt that it wasn't going to be long, and that sort of helps as well, because a lot of people you know, sort of get redirected to a person and then go like, hey, Kirk Douglas, or you know, something like that. So that also helps. We did a lot of Ennio Morricone movies, which he did the score for, and that really works. And I think people just come to appreciate his music, and it doesn't really matter what movie it is. So then the title becomes less relevant, I think.
Before we go to the audience questions, I've got a question for Jack, actually. How do you actually book with Park Circus? Tell us a bit more.
Well, I think the first thing is making contact. You know, we really do tailor, you know, kind of the terms that we apply to clients, and really just the way of working with clients on a client by client basis effectively. And, you know, there are certain regions where we have kind of more established terms, but really, you know, one of the great sincere joys I have is, you know, I've spent, you know, good time with both Charlene and Jan, and having even just an hour-long conversation when we've been able to do so, just to talk, what do you want to program, how big will that program be, and talking about that in a way that makes sure that it's really, you know, not having it be a one-way street. It's a two-way street. I think these things, and it's really important to have that conversation, not just with me, but obviously the whole sales team at Park Circus. So there's obviously certain kind of guiding principles, and obviously our website is the kind of main tool for us that you can go on to search for title availability, format availability. There's a bunch of collections and suggestions on there as well, if people do want to kind of look for programming ideas, of course. But I think to what Mark said at the beginning, in terms of our ethos of ensuring every film finds its audience, is actually really what we do, is really facilitating these programs and trying to make it as easy and straightforward as possible, and understanding the venue, you know, be it in Australia, be it down the road for me with the Glasgow Film Theatre. You know, I think it's everyone has their own thoughts about how they want to do it, and I think that applies to how they work with us. But really, the key thing is obviously going on our website, but speaking to us to check if rights are available to a film, which can be more complicated than some people realize, I think, for sure. As Jan and Charlene nod their heads, probably get sick of me saying, this title's on hold, this title can't be booked right now. But that's because they show so many films, and it just does come up. And actually, as a consequence of more and more people showing classics, there's more demand, there's more restorations happening of films being made available in new and fantastic ways to be seen in the big screen. So, you know, that is obviously another question, of course, too, and checking what materials are available. And if you do happen to install a 70mm projector at some point in future, like Jan, and I'm sure he'd be happy to answer any questions anyone might have around the practicalities of doing that, then we can work with the client on that too, to see what's available. Obviously, there's a lot around, you know, the insurance of copies and things like that too, and we coordinate with the studios that we represent on a daily basis, both in the UK and in the US and all around the world. But really, I think a key thing as well is just, if you're wanting to show classics, is there may well be, and there's, you know, literally thousands of times for us across the year that someone does just want to show a one-off screening of a title. But I think the key thing is, are you going to be doing it consistently, and how do you want to do it consistently with a plan to kind of have any marketing alongside that, which we of course can support as well. We have access to all of the studio's archives for images, even classic trailers and artworks and so on, that can help support these sorts of programs that get put together. But it's really just to have a conversation around, okay, this number of films, you know, this is how we can bring it together for you with the terms. And, you know, I think it's just almost building up an element of trust there, and allowing the audience to really develop for it too. And I think what is, you know, difficult, I think, is that for a lot of places around the world, they really don't show catalogue films yet. You know, certainly for, you know, trying to kind of decipher what's a classic for a 20-year-old, but it's what's a classic to someone in South Korea is very different to a classic for someone in Ireland or the Netherlands, of course, as well. So that's what makes it, you know, that's what makes us quite unique as well, actually, is that we do what we do all around the world, and this, you know, huge catalogue of films that are made available. And I think for us, we want to hear from the programmer, from the cinema, what they feel would work well for their audiences, and we'll really just do our best to make that happen as easily as possible.
Thank you, Jack. And to stay with us, our panelists, I'd like to welcome back Mark as well for the Q&A. We've got a couple of questions from the audience. Hi again, Mark. Welcome back.
Thank you very much, and thank you to Charlene and Jan, and of course Anna and Jack for moderating. That was a fascinating discussion, which just shows, I think we could talk about this for hours and hours and hours. And you know, it's great that we're, you know, touching on this idea of the, you know, the younger audiences too, which is very much a goal that we have and I had coming into the company, that we actually, you know, really kind of just, you know, listen to what people want to see. And you know, they do make us feel old, but, you know, it's the 25th anniversary, they're the ones that make you particularly old, feel old, because they're the ones I remember actually going to as an established adult. But yeah, recognize, you know, and we've actually, you know, Kate Timperley, our marketing director, and her team, that, you know, we've started doing focus groups on what classic cinema means. It's great to have these conversations, this feedback of what films work, what you're looking for. We can then in turn go back to the studios with this information. So it's this communication is excellent. So thank you very much.
Well, talking of communication, we've had a couple of questions from the audience, so I'm going to start with one now. So can you share the turnaround time to get screening rights, DCP delivery, etc. to cinemas or culture venues that screen films, and anything else you can share in terms of the process? Who'd like to take that one?
And I can jump over. We could maybe ask Jan and Charlene. That would be interesting to see what they would say, wouldn't it? So, well, it can vary in length, as they well know, but more often than not, I would say 2 weeks can do it. I think a key part of the process for us, and a really important part of what we do, is, of course, you know, we do not own the films that we feature on our website, and we very much work on behalf of all the studios and rights owners that we represent. So through that, we have a very, very transparent process in running every single screening by those studios to make sure that we are making sure that rights are clear. You never know when rights may lapse for whatever reason. And also just, the local offices of different studios in any country around the world as well may have something that might conflict with something that we are doing too. So there's lots of checks that we have with the studios before we can confirm a title, as well as just obviously making sure that we have enough time, as the questioner said, to get the DCP to them. And there's little things which I think people often don't quite recognize with Repertory Films, is that, as Mark said at the beginning, we do literally have thousands of films available in DCP. Not all of those DCPs are ready to be plucked and sent to the cinema. Sometimes they can be held in archive, which means they need to be restored and then, actually delivered to the client. And of course, we are doing a lot more electronic deliveries now as well. I know, in fact, we've probably switched from that with Keynote, for example. We would send DCPs on a hard drive. Now we more often than not send them via a secure download link as well, just to make things a little bit easier. And that's definitely something that we're looking to develop as much as we can going forward as well. But I would say 2 weeks is a comfortable time to get things done.
Yeah, can I add just one thing, or maybe two? I'm not sponsored by you guys. I'm just an honest compliment. I used to have to go to Universal or something like that sometimes for a title, but they're very busy doing Transformers 5, for instance, or something like that. And what I do enjoy about the fact is that you take the time for especially this. So your very special ideas, very broad, which I like. But the thing that you need to maybe take in account as a programmer is just plan ahead. Give yourself 2 months to get something, get 20 titles, and then whittle it down to like the 6 that are actually have the rights in your territory. You have a 35mm or a DCP. So yeah, allow yourself to have that time, because it's less frustrating, because you guys are sort of having to depend on studios as well to get it through. So if there's a tip to do a repertory, then I would say plan ahead and give it enough time to get through to the process, I guess. Yeah.
Great advice.
Words.
You guys rock. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Another question here. Regarding the cinema theatres, has the audience come naturally, or is there a conscious effort to build up, develop and embrace new audiences? Interesting question. Anyone who would like to take that one?
Well, I guess, a little bit of both, I suppose. I mean, we have our kind of core audience, but we're always trying to build and develop different audiences. So, I mean, the holy grail is like targeting different groups, and they all have different newsletters that you send them, but it's never as simple as that. And, we have all kinds of data, but it's about using that ethically and according to GDPR and everything. But I suppose, with your programming, you're targeting people. So, if you take care to show films that might appeal to younger audiences, you will get younger audiences. How you choose to advertise, like even the sort of, if I have a season about Katharine Hepburn, I might make a poster that's really beautiful and maybe a bit vintage looking, and that might appeal to an older audience and a female audience, versus if I'm doing a season like around young people, it'll probably be a little bit kind of cooler and maybe might be a bit more kind of graphic or whatever. So I guess everything we do is always thinking about the audience at the end of that. So the audience in my mind might not be exactly, who I think they are, but everything is focused on that. So, you envision who you think the audience is, and you speak to them in what we call their language. So, I guess that's, we have an audience, but we're always trying to develop it and broaden it, and making sure that we are broad enough that we appeal to different audiences. And once they're in, they decide they love us and trust us, and they might come to everything else. That's basically kind of how it works with us.
Nice. We've had another couple of questions comes in, but Jan, did you want to speak to that at all before we get to those? We've got 5 minutes.
Well, Charlene had a fantastic answer for that, but I think really what it comes, and it might sound a bit sort of egocentrical, but it's about what that sort of swoon that you give. What Charlene says, like, I talk in their language. we talk in the language that we talk, and we can't be anything else really. So it's actually the films themselves that decide what people come. I mean, if you do Novecento, 1900, it's going to be older people, but they need to feel comfortable with the experience just as much as you do a Rick and Morty marathon, for instance. You know, I think those are the most apart that I could think of that we did. But I think it's because of the fact that you try to remain sort of like authentic in a way that it's adaptable for everyone. That's sort of attracted to an independent cinema, and I think that's what the Lighthouse does as well, because you have so much different genres and things, but I mean there's still like a core that goes to everything, and then you have this sort of different little audiences that sort of jump in and out in a way. But
well, yeah, and it's sort of what you said earlier, like you show what you think is good. And if your audience knows that what's going to be on is going to be good, then they're more likely to take a chance on something they've never heard of.
Absolutely, and sometimes they're disappointed. I mean, there were a lot of people that really loved Mandy, and there were a lot of people that was like, "What is this crap?" You know? Yeah. And you just feel like, well, you know, sometimes you have to take a chance, and I think that's what makes it fun as well. I mean, if you're always comfortable and you always know what's going to happen, it's no more fun, I guess. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. Gosh, we're running out of time. Amazing, isn't it? I wanted to speak to Jack actually and ask and Mark, what are Park Circus's plans for 2021? Will you be focusing on any particular films or projects that we should know about?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, we're really excited to actually, proactively re-release a film at the very beginning of next year in Fargo, which we're releasing for its 25th anniversary in 4K, and looking ahead to Frances McDormand's performance in Nomadland. So we're investing in actually a wider package of classics to go alongside that we're calling Thrills and Chills, Killers in the Snow. So a kind of snowy noir crime themed season with a mix of titles from The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo to The Revenant, Misery. So it should be quite a fun season, but Fargo is very much the forefront of that, with, you know, brand new trailer and poster. And I think it really goes to our principles and really wanting to, you know, support the theatrical experience effectively. We have a huge catalogue of films that people can book. We also want to invest in our catalogue as well, and help cinemas actually promote these films too. So that, plus basically any program that cinemas want to put together, we're in active conversations with loads of people. To Jan's point, you know, please get in touch. We can program something even if you don't know when you want to show it. We can tell you if the rights are clear, what formats are available, and get you prepped for whenever you're ready. And we're very much looking forward to hopefully positive 2021 with people back into the cinema. So yeah.
Oh, well, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, here's to a fantastically successful 2021. And I must say, it's been such a pleasure chatting to you all today and hearing out more about what you do. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And thank you to Jan, to Jack, to Charlene, and to Mark. You've been a great panel. And thanks to Park Circus for hosting us today. There's a bit more detail in the chat about that you might want to see about what Jack was just talking about there. And we will circulate a recording after the event of this, so you have everything on record. And we hope you will join us again soon. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Happy Christmas.
Guys.
Take care, everyone. Merry Christmas.